You've been lied to. Your whole life, you've been told that saying yes is the key to success. Yes to more work, yes to favors, yes to obligations that drain the life out of you. But here's the truth. Your power doesn't come from saying yes, it comes from saying no. Think about it. How many times have you agreed to something you didn't want to do just to avoid guilt or conflict? How often have you put your own needs last because you were too afraid to disappoint someone else? Enough. It's time to take back control. In this video, we're going to break down why saying no is not just an act of defiance. It's an act of self-respect. We'll explore how setting boundaries can actually make you stronger, more successful, and even happier. And I know what you're thinking, but what if people get upset? What if I lose opportunities? Trust me, we're going to tackle all of that. And I promise you, by the end of this video, you'll have the mindset and tools to say no with confidence, without guilt, and without apology. So, if you're tired of feeling overwhelmed, stretched too thin, and constantly putting yourself last, stick around, because what you're about to learn could completely change the way you live your life. Ready? Let's get into it. Number 1. The silent rebellion, mastering the art of no. The most powerful word in your vocabulary isn't please or thank you. It's no. But here's the catch. Most of us are absolutely terrible at using it. We dance around it, sugarcoat it, or avoid saying it altogether. Why? Because we're wired to be agreeable. We don't want to upset people, disappoint them, or worse, be seen as rude. But what if I told you that the ability to say no without guilt is a secret superpower? And not just any no. I'm talking about the kind that requires no justification, no over-explaining, and no apology. A silent rebellion against the expectation that we must always be available, accommodating, and agreeable. Think about the last time you said yes to something you didn't want to do. Maybe it was agreeing to help a friend move on your only day off, staying late at work for a task that wasn't even yours, or attending a social event you had zero interest in. We've all been there. That sinking feeling of obligation creeps in, and before you know it, you're stuck, wondering how you got roped into this mess. It happens because saying no feels uncomfortable. But here's the thing, so does resentment, exhaustion, and constantly putting yourself last. And if you're choosing between discomforts, wouldn't you rather pick the one that actually benefits you? Here's where the silent rebellion comes in. Instead of the usual, "I'd love to, but I'm really busy," or "I don't think I can, maybe next time," try this. Just say no and stop talking. No excuses, no long-winded explanations. Just a calm, firm, "No, I won't be able to," and let the silence do the heavy lifting. You'd be amazed at how people fill in the gaps themselves. They either accept it, move on, or scramble to justify why they even asked in the first place. The beauty of this strategy is that it shifts the power dynamic. Suddenly, you're not the one trying to soften the blow. They are. I remember the first time I tried this. A coworker asked me to cover for them, again, on a project that wasn't my responsibility. Normally, I'd make up some excuse or reluctantly agree just to avoid tension, but this time I simply said, "No, I can't." And then I stopped talking. The silence felt unbearable for a moment, but guess what? They just nodded and moved on to ask someone else. No argument, no pushback, just acceptance. That's when it clicked. Most of the time, people aren't looking for a deep reason. They're just testing to see if you'll cave. This isn't about being rude. It's about reclaiming your space, your time, and your energy. It's about recognizing that you don't owe anyone a justification for protecting your peace. And the best part? The more you do it, the more empowered you feel. The guilt fades, the hesitation disappears, and suddenly your no carries the weight it always should have. So, here's my challenge for you. Try it. The next time someone asks for something you don't want to do, resist the urge to explain. Just say, "No, I won't be able to." Then stop. Let the silence settle. Let them react however they choose. And watch how the world doesn't fall apart. Only your old habits do. This is your silent rebellion, and it's time you mastered the art of no. Number 2. The boundaries breaker. Redefining your limits. Let's be honest, most of us have terrible boundaries. We say yes when we mean no. We take on responsibilities that aren't ours, and we let people overstep because, well, we don't want to be that person. You know, the difficult one, the selfish one. But what if I told you that having strong boundaries isn't about pushing people away, it's about protecting yourself? And more importantly, what if I told you that breaking your own limits is the key to setting real, unshakable ones? Think about the last time someone crossed a line with you. Maybe it was a friend who constantly dumped their problems on you, a boss who expected you to be available 24/7, or a family member who made you feel guilty for not doing enough. And what did you do? Probably exactly what most people do. Gritted your teeth, went along with it, and told yourself, "It's fine, it's just this one time." Except, it wasn't just one time, was it? That's the thing about weak boundaries. They don't break all at once. They slowly erode, one small, "okay, I guess" at a time. Here's the twist. If you want to build better boundaries, you first have to break the invisible rules that keep you stuck. Rules like, "I have to be nice all the time," or "I can't disappoint people," or "If I say no, they'll think I don't care." These aren't real rules. They're just deeply ingrained beliefs designed to keep you in a cycle of overgiving and burnout. And the only way to escape, you have to start breaking them. I remember the first time I actively, intentionally broke one of these rules. My boss had a habit of emailing me late at night, expecting an immediate response. For months, I played along, responding instantly, convincing myself it was just part of the job. But one night, instead of replying, I did something radical. I put my phone on silent and went to bed. No response, no explanation, just silence. The next morning, I expected a disaster, maybe even an angry email. But guess what? Nothing happened. The world didn't end. My job was still intact. And more importantly, that was the last time he emailed me past working hours. Without a single confrontation, I had set a boundary. The beauty of boundaries is that you don't always have to announce them. You just have to act on them. Stop justifying your decisions. Stop over-explaining. If something doesn't work for you, say no and leave it at that. People will either adjust or show you that they were only in your life for their convenience. Either way, you win. So, here's the challenge. Start breaking the rules. Let that call go to voicemail. Say no without explaining why. Turn down an invite just because you don't feel like it. The first few times will feel uncomfortable, maybe even a little rebellious. But that's the point. This is about redefining your limits on your terms, not anyone else's. Because at the end of the day, the people who truly respect you will respect your boundaries too. And the ones who don't, they were never worth keeping in the first place. Number 3, the fearless. No, unleashing your authentic power. Most people are afraid of the word no, not hearing it, saying it. It feels too direct, too confrontational, too final. So instead, we wrap it in soft excuses, delay it with half promises, or avoid it altogether. But here's the thing. Every time you hesitate to say no when you need to, you're giving away a little piece of your power. And if you do that long enough, you wake up one day realizing that your life has been shaped by obligations, not choices. So, what if you stopped being afraid of it? What if you embraced no as a tool for reclaiming your time, your energy, and your authenticity? You know the drill. Someone asks for a favor, and even before you've processed it, your mouth says, "Sure." Your brain, meanwhile, is screaming, "Why did I just agree to that?" Maybe it's a last-minute request from a coworker, a friend who always needs just one more thing, or a family member who assumes you're available 24/7. And sure, sometimes it's fine. But when it happens too often, you start to feel stretched thin, resentful even. Not because people are asking, but because you don't feel like you have permission to say no. But here's the secret. You do. And you don't owe anyone an elaborate explanation, a fake excuse, or a guilt-ridden apology. The fearless no is different from the hesitant, half-hearted one. It doesn't come with an explanation, a justification, or an unnecessary follow-up. It's clean, it's direct. And this is the part most people don't expect. It actually earns you more respect. When you start saying no with confidence, people stop pushing. They recognize that your time isn't up for grabs. And the ones who do get upset, they were only benefiting from your inability to set boundaries in the first place. I remember the first time I tried this. A friend, one who only ever called when they needed something, asked if I could help them move. It was short notice. I had other plans. And honestly, I just didn't want to. But instead of my usual, I wish I could, but I'm really busy, I just said, "No, I can't." And then, silence. The moment stretched awkwardly. I half expected them to argue, to demand a reason, but instead they just said, "Oh, okay," and moved on. That's when I realized, most of the time we think people need a justification. They really don't. This isn't about being harsh. It's about being honest. If you're always bending to fit everyone else's expectations, where do you fit? Saying no isn't rejection. It's redirection. It's choosing what actually aligns with your time, energy, and priorities. And let's be real, if a relationship falls apart because you started respecting yourself more, that's not a relationship worth keeping. So here's my challenge to you. The next time you want to say no, say it. No hesitation, no fluff, no unnecessary excuses. Just a simple, clear no. It'll feel uncomfortable at first, maybe even terrifying. But with every fearless no, you take back a little more of your power. And eventually, you stop feeling guilty for protecting your own peace. Because at the end of the day, your time belongs to you, and no one else gets to decide how you spend it. Number 4, the rebel's choice, prioritizing yourself. First, we've been told all our lives that putting others first is the right thing to do. Sacrifice, selflessness, always being available, it's painted as noble, even admirable. But let me ask you something. When was the last time prioritizing everyone else left you feeling fulfilled? Probably never. Because the truth is, constantly putting others before yourself doesn't make you a saint. It makes you exhausted. And if that sounds harsh, good. Because sometimes we need a wake-up call. We've all been there. A friend asks for a favor when you're already drowning in commitments. A coworker dumps last-minute work on you because you're just so good at handling things. A family member assumes you'll always say yes because, well, you always do. And each time, you hesitate. You feel guilty even considering saying no. So, you say yes, again and again, until your time, your energy, and even your happiness become secondary to everyone else's needs. Sound familiar? Yeah, same. But here's the shift that changes everything. Prioritizing yourself is not selfish. It's necessary. I know. It feels selfish at first, especially if you've spent years as the go-to person for everyone around you. But think of it like this. If you constantly pour into others without refilling your own cup, what happens? You burn out. You resent the people you're trying to help. And ironically, you start giving less, not more. Prioritizing yourself isn't about shutting people out. It's about making sure you have enough left to give without losing yourself in the process. I remember the first time I actively chose myself over someone else's expectations. A friend wanted to vent again about the same drama they refused to fix. Normally, I'd listen, give advice, and drain myself emotionally in the process. But this time, I said, "Hey, I love you, but I can't take this on today." And guess what? The world didn't end. They found someone else to talk to, and I actually had the energy to focus on things I needed to do. That moment taught me something. People will adjust to your boundaries if you enforce them. This is about more than just saying no. It's about making choices that serve you first, so you don't constantly feel like life is something happening to you instead of something you're in control of. When you start prioritizing yourself, you become more intentional with your time. You stop over-explaining your choices. You realize that the people who truly care about you will respect your limits, and the ones who don't, well, maybe they only benefited from your lack of them. So here's my challenge to you. The next time you feel that knee-jerk guilt over putting yourself first, stop, breathe, and remind yourself that your needs matter just as much as anyone else's. Choosing yourself isn't rebellion, it's freedom, and once you start, you'll wonder why you didn't do it sooner. Number 5. The no hustle, slowing down to speed up. We live in a world that glorifies the grind. Hustle harder, sleep when you're dead, work like your life depends on it. And sure, hard work is important, but here's the real question. When did we start equating busyness with success? Because let's be honest, half the time we're running around, stressed out and exhausted, but not actually getting anywhere. What if I told you that slowing down might be the key to moving forward faster? Sounds backward, right? But trust me on this, we've all been there, rushing through our to-do lists, cramming in as much as possible, feeling like we're constantly behind. You wake up, check your phone before even getting out of bed, reply to messages while brushing your teeth, and dive straight into work before your brain has even had a moment to wake up properly. And at the end of the day, you're drained, frustrated, and somehow still feel like you didn't do enough. It's exhausting, and it's a trap. Here's the unconventional strategy: slow down. Not forever, not in a lazy give-up-on-life way, but in a strategic way. The reality is, when you move too fast, you make more mistakes. You burn out. You start making decisions reactively instead of intentionally. Slowing down isn't about doing less. It's about doing what actually matters. It's about creating space to think, to plan, to make better choices so that when you do take action, it's 10 times more effective. I had to learn this the hard way. I used to say yes to everything, work long hours, push myself to the limit, because I thought that's what successful people did. Until one day, I hit a wall. I was burnt out, uninspired, and honestly, just over it. So I tried something radical. I stopped rushing. I started prioritizing rest, giving myself time to think before making decisions, focusing on impact instead of just activity. And guess what? My work got better. My mind felt clearer. I was actually getting more done in less time because I was being intentional instead of just busy. This isn't about laziness, it's about sustainability. It's about understanding that real success isn't about how much you do, but how well you do it. It's about recognizing that slowing down doesn't mean stopping. It means setting yourself up to move forward smarter. So, the next time you feel overwhelmed, instead of pushing harder, try pausing, breathe, step back, and remind yourself that the real power isn't in the hustle, it's in the strategy. Thank you so much for watching. I hope this video gave you the clarity and confidence to start saying no without guilt and with full conviction. If you found this insight valuable, go ahead and hit that like button. It really helps more people discover this message. And if you want more content on setting boundaries, self-growth, and taking back your power, make sure to subscribe and turn on notifications so you never miss a video. Know someone who struggles with saying no? Share this video with them. It might be exactly what they need to hear today. And before you go, drop a comment below. What's the hardest thing you've ever had to say no to? Let's get a conversation going, because trust me, you're not alone in this. Remember, every time you say no to something that doesn't serve you, you're actually saying yes to yourself, your peace, your time, your well-being. So keep standing firm, keep setting boundaries, and I'll see you in the next one.